What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, and this is the truth behind sports beefs. Don't forget to follow the playlist that you'll see at the end of this video, and by all means, you guys can hit up the Cash App. Carcino is the name on the Cash App, or you can hit up the Streamlab, clicking the link in the description box, as this is the truth behind the beef with Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez. Now, when Derek Jeter was coming up and he was drafted to play, there was a young skinny kid in high school that was like all clamoring around him and wanting to be his friend, and that was Alex Rodriguez. And the two hit it off, even though he got drafted by Seattle and by the Yankees. He got brought up the very next year. A-Rod makes it to the All-Star game his first year, and Jeter was Rookie of the Year when he came up. And their careers were both successful, where Jeter had more monumental success. He didn't have the massive numbers that a lot of the other guys had, but he was very consistent, where A-Rod had more of the upper echelon, big smashing home runs and the things that he was doing over there. But that team had Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr., and he was just a guy behind Griff. And during the strike season, a lot of things started to develop over there when they were playing. Now, they had a big bear, bench clearing brawl and things like that between the two teams, and Jeter and A-Rod really didn't get involved. And one of the Yankee players was quite livid at Jeter over that, and thinking his friendship with A-Rod was affecting him, and didn't like the fraternizing, and actually was him and a couple other Yankee players were laying into Jeter because they looked at him as, saying him and A-Rod were boyfriend and girlfriend, or boyfriend and boyfriend, the way they were saying, oh, you're going to your boyfriend's house. Whenever they would play against them, they would take trips to the house, and they would sleep at each other's house instead of staying with the team. And some Yankee players who was on the team didn't like the fraternizing with the other teammates. So it was a lot of pushing and shoving and arguing in the locker room. And Jeter's manhood was being questioned by a lot of the people on the team. A lot of teammates who didn't want to be named said they constantly heard, the where's your boyfriend? Where's your lipstick? Is it in your back pocket? Heard a lot of condescending remarks towards Derek Jeter. And it's like, hey, it's a lot of women out there don't worry, Derek's not going to go after him. He wants A-Rod. So this is from his own team that he played for. So A-Rod, Derek Jeter's not one to argue back. He's the one to get mad, and yell and curse at people and this and that. A-Rod was the more outgoing, temperamental, didn't care what you had to say or think type of individual. But also on the team, when people called him out, he normally would not engage when the situations got hot. But no one really had a problem with A-Rod with Seattle. They didn't care about his fraternizing as long as he was showing up and playing. And he really was putting up a lot of big numbers behind Griffey. It was something to the point where Griffey went to Cincinnati, Johnson was gone, and it became A-Rod's team. after the series with the Yankees, which really brought baseball back before that big home run spurt, was that 5-game series they had against the Yankees. That was like one of the best baseball series there was at the time. And that kind of brought the fans back after that strike season. Is when that Mariners Yankees playoffs was the way how great it was. For baseball. The Yankees went on to win the World Series that year. And these two were inseparable. And who could forget all of the things that were going on at that time? They were in magazines together. Who could forget the Shirtless Picture magazine, which really got the word flying around? So after this, things started to change between the two a little bit. A-Rod's putting up big numbers, but Jeter's getting a lot of press. Like one of the writers in New York, he's in New York. New York sports writer and a Seattle sports writer. It's like, are you serious? So Jeter was talked about, written about, putting in magazines, and A-Rod's like, wait a minute. Especially after he just signed for like $245 million with Seattle. He's got a monster deal. And next thing you know, they're like, okay, he's got this big deal going on. What's happening here? He's the $245 million man. So naturally, he starts talking in a magazine and really dumping on Jeter. In the whole magazine, he was dumping on Derek Jeter. And that's his best friend. He's like, oh, well, Derek, he might get about 180. He don't quite have the numbers and this and that. It's like, why would you be talking about this in an interview about Derek Jeter, your friend, and saying it in this tone? Like you got your money and you basically capping him out. And then giving a reason why. They'd be like, well, your friend said you're not worth the money. And all of the things he kept saying and reiterating about how Jeter is, let him tell him to go try for my home run record and all this stuff. It was just coming off, and Jeter was like, look, I care about winning games. I don't care about really individual stats. We're over here, we're worried about winning games, which was another shot at A-Rod because they weren't winning. And every year they would have a great season, but they would lose. They would completely lose. The Seattle teams would lose, and people be looking around for answers, and they didn't have any. So now the narratives are starting to change. As the two are supposed to meet and talk, Jeter's not really trusting and not even understanding why A-Rod keeps mentioning his name. Like, why does he keep doing this? But A-Rod wanted some press written about him. He wanted more magazines. He wanted everything that Jeter was getting. Jeter was getting a lot of attention because they were winning the World Series. So then he opens his mouth in another interview and starts talking about how Jeter's not really the main guy over there. Like he's not the main guy that they got to even worry about. They got Posada, they got Bernie Williams. Jeter's not like the main guy they even worried about. So, for him, it's a whole different situation as far as him being in Seattle. He's like the only guy over there saying it in so many words. Jeter, once again, is getting barraged by questions. He's like, when I talk to him, I'll get things straight. And Jeter's just upset because he's like, why is he bringing things that don't have anything to do with baseball into this conversation? Now, this brought a rift between the two. And that Yankee player who eventually was traded away who had a problem with Jeter, and the situation with them fraternizers was playing for another team, and said, you know what? That guy and that guy, there's something weird going on over there between them two. And now that they're having this thing, the honeymoon's over. And he said everybody was just joking, thought he was joking. He meant seriously. He thought they really had a thing going on where, like, they were, bi, and they were doing these events and doing these, dating these, looking at the women they were dating. It's like, look at the women they're dating. Derek Jeter's either dating a supermodel or actress or a entertainer. Like this, that's their beards. And I'm like, wow. Started to make a little bit of sense because A Rod's the same way. And as they tried to mend their friendship, A Rod introduced him to his date to the All Star game. And his date was the, what was her name? Joy Enrique. I believe that's her name, Joy Enrique. And she is a singer, an R&B singer or whatever. And next thing you know, she ended up dating Derek Jeter. She was A-Rod's date to the All-Star game and winded up with Jeter. And Jeter started dating her for a couple of months. Then A-Rod didn't want nothing to do with her. So these are the type of things that continuously happen between the two. And it was like the beef was supposed to be over, but it really wasn't. They really just didn't like each other anymore. So something happened. And like that Yankee player said, yep, the honeymoon's over. Something happened between the two. But he also felt that these guys were living secret lives. And they know something that the rest of the world don't. Like they were using each other's, these women as beards. All of these supermodels and all these things that they're dating were just their beards. And he truly believed that. But anyhow, we move forward. As the paper wrote, Jeter was sweeter, and they had his ex on the cover of the paper, moving on as she was introduced to Derek Jeter by A-Rod. A-Rod's date goes for Jeter instead of A-Rod. He's losing it all. It kind of put him in a foul mood. But A-Rod tried to go to the New York Mets in a trade. The trade was done. He was already going to be a Met. They turned it down. I think it was to the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox deal was done and it got kaput. But he was going to go to the Mets first. The Mets was the first deal they had in New York for him. And the deal was going to be done, except for A-Rod wanted a plane like Jeter had. He wanted more poster board. He wanted to guarantee that the Mets put up his face on more billboards and all of these things than Jeter. He wanted a private health. Man, the Mets said, no way. We're not gonna agree to that. So that's when the Boston Red Sox deal came and got approved. He was gonna be A-Rod was gonna be a Red Sox. Then the union came and broke it up, said that the trade was illegal. So that didn't happen, and here come the Texas Rangers. Rangers come along, they get the deal to work. The contract works. Everything fits. Now A-Rod is on the Rangers putting up numbers, but they're losing. Texas Rangers like, look, we're losing every year. And this A-Rod situation is not really panning out and he's putting up numbers, but we're not really getting anywhere. And he's turning around, he's watching Jeter go to the World Series and he's playing in the playoffs. A-Rod is pissed. So A-Rod is dating this supermodel, hot swimsuit model. Jeter wants this woman to represent him. So they both call the management agency, right? Or whoever the guy is that hooks these girls up for him. And it's a mutual friend with both. And the guy is like, well, I got another girl for you. And he's like, what about the girl I want? He's like, I can't do it because A-Rod wants to, meet up and they're having dinner this Saturday. They've already got it agreed. So Jeter was like, you know what? That's okay. Where are they having dinner at? All right, well, I'll call him and I'll work it out. So next thing you know, Jeter does not show up. He pulls up to the restaurant down the street and he's there with Georgiana Brewster from Fast and the Furious. And he didn't even go to the same restaurant. He just wanted to know which restaurant A-Rod was going to because he didn't want to be at that one. So, once again, A-Rod had beat him to a situation. So, A-Rod wanted to date another woman that was on the market that he was attracted to. And he told Derek Jeter about it. And Jeter ended up dating that woman and taking her out first. And told him, like, you won't believe who I ran into. And she just happened to be available. So A-Rod very curiously asks, like, well, who are we talking about? Jennifer Beal. Jennifer Beal. So Jennifer Beal at that time was just like breaking out and becoming her own. And, she was the it girl. And just because A-Rod was interested in her, he was borrowed her time for a couple of months. Then he finds another hot model and runs over there. Now, the beef came down to, and the business end. The Boston Red Sox come back to try to get A-Rod. Because the Texas Rangers is like, look, we're not going to keep paying all this money for this guy, and we're losing. Boston come with a deal, and Major League Baseball once again strikes it down because it's interfering, some money structured thing, and they turn it down. Once the Yankees see that the Red Sox almost had A-Rod, they didn't want them to restructure a deal to come back and get him. They're like, we got to get A-Rod. So they first said, okay, we got to get this approved by Derek Jeter. They was like, we know this is your friend. We know y'all two don't really talk that much, but he's the best shortstop in the game. And you're the number 2 shortstop in the game. But they were like, well, he really wanted out of Texas, he would have to move to third base. One of you guys would have to move to third base, and A-Rod's like, I'll move to third. So they were supposed to have a sit down and talk, these two, to say, hey, we're going to come here, we're going to win, this is what it's going to be. And he moves to third, and they was like, okay, you don't have a problem moving to third? He's like, nah, he's shortstop, I'm third base. It is what it is. Let's win. Let's do what we got to do to win. And that's how Jeter was like, look, let's just win a championship. That's that. And Jeter just didn't like A-Rod. He did not want him on the team. He did not want any of this at all. He couldn't even fake it. It was like, you know, like Manley and Wade Boggs on the same team. They couldn't stand each other, but they had to fake it. So he's like, look, fake it for as long as you can. With A-Rod, we got it. We got him on the team. He's gonna be on the team. Just keep going. So A-Rod was getting all this attention now, and Jeter was the guy on the team who was doing the majority of the work, and he was outplaying A-Rod. A-Rod was struggling, and once he got a home run, Jeter was like, "Yeah, I hope it gets him going." They was like, "What do you think about A-Rod's finally home run?" He's like, "Why don't you ask him how he feels about hitting a home run?" Like he had no connection with A-Rod whatsoever. He was tired of being mentioned with A-Rod, and the media would not let it go. They kept bringing it up, repitching it over and over. And the year that they started to gel and have a little fun, you start seeing like Jeter would poke him a little bit, or he'll poke Jeter, and they were okay. It was like they're cool, they're cordial, but they're definitely not as close as they used to be. So now there's a boat party, and everybody wants to see who Jeter's gonna come with to the boat party. And he shows up with Scarlett Johansson, who was the hottest girl at the time. She was ranked one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. And he pops up with her. Meanwhile, A-Rod comes in with this hot swimsuit model. And everybody looks at him and go, wow. You know, they're still in the show. But they didn't speak to each other. They stood around, some took pictures, but never really together. Now, after this was done, it was noticeable that after they won that one championship, things started to go back to being the way it was, and those guys not really speaking to each other. And when Jeter retired, and A-Rod wasn't even there for his retirement, and said, "Oh, I'm with my mom. It was Mother's Day, so there's no hate." And then they did the charity event together. They had to sit down and do an interview. They knew that both parties would be there to do an interview to talk about the charity event they were doing. They did not understand, or well, they did not know that the interview would be at the same time. They thought the interview was going to be separate. They sat A-Rod and Jeter right by each other and interviewed him. And Jeter is completely pissed in the interview as he's answering these questions. He's like, my God, this stuff is about 20 years ago. The guy keeps asking the same questions about their relationship, the friendship. Oh, you guys are close again? He's like, well, I was third baseman, he's shortstop. So, this is about how close we were out on the field every day. The guy wouldn't let it go. So Jeter was really pissed off when the interview was over. Oh, he was laying into the producers and everything, how he felt he was set up for this A-Rod and Jeter thing, and having him connected again with A-Rod and putting his name in the papers with A-Rod and everything else. And he definitely didn't want it after all that steroid controversy came out, where it seemed to make Jeter happy. Because that's when Jeter came out and defended A-Rod. It was like, well, A-Rod, he did this and that. But he was so enthused, like he was almost seemed like he was glad that it happened. Like he was free to talk about it. He was like, yeah, I could talk. I could defend A-Rod now. I could do this. Now I know I got something over on him. His legacy now will always have an asterisk by it, where mine will always be good and intact. So, A-Rod is dating Cameron Diaz, right? He's got Cameron Diaz, and he's going someplace. They're out in Miami, Florida, and A-Rod's going to dinner, and he see Cameron Diaz, and he says hi and everything else because he's familiar with her. Then he pulls up with something that was like spectacular on his arm. I think it was the woman he's with now, that he's engaged with or married to. And he spoke to her, didn't realize that they knew each other. So he's like, oh, and Alex, Alex is like, oh, so you know Derek? And she goes, oh, yeah, me and Derek goes way back. He's like, oh, you know Derek? Like, he never knew that she knew Derek Jeter. So she's like, oh, yeah, I knew him way back in the day. We, talked, like, but never on a dating thing. That was just enough. It seemed like for A-Rod. A-Rod was not happy with the fact that she knew Derek Jeter and he didn't know that they knew each other or had met each other before. And he was just like angry about it. So his whole demeanor changed. And their relationship was over so quick. It was so swift. By the time people realized that they were together, they were almost at the tail end of the entire relationship. So now that that's over with, people are looking around going, wow, what are we going to do now? Like, what are we going to do as far as these two going down the same path and things of this nature? So, anyhow, the Florida Marlins is going on sale. And when the Florida Marlins went on sale, immediately, first person they hit up had a team and was talking about buying it, Derek Jeter. And once Derek Jeter's team was saying that A-Rod was trying to get his investors and people involved, it's like, oh, I want to get this team. I got to get the Florida Marlins. Jeter's interested. And I'm not. And people thought they were going to team up and buy it together. No, that was not going to be the case. A-Rod wanted to definitely buy that team before Jeter gets his hands. So Jennifer Lopez, who knows Jeter too as well, and she's with A-Rod, but this is before they were with each other at the time. A-Rod was calling every day, trying to see what's going on about buying the Marlins and trying to see what it was going to take. And the guy knew that both of them didn't like each other because they were trying to figure out what each other team was doing. So he would tell he would go tell Jeter team like, look, man, A-Rod and them team, they're really serious about buying this team. I think you probably need to up your your bid by at least 50 to 100 million because they're gonna come strong. Next thing you know, they're like, I'll get back with you. And A-Rod and them team call, he'll tell them the same thing, man. Look, Jeter's team, man, they're about to go up about another 25 to 100 million. Y'all better go hit that bank up. They were pushing the value up so much between the two, but A-Rod ended up stepping out, and Jeter ended up becoming the owner of the Florida Marlins, a part owner with the team, and now he's been dealing with that headache that's down there in Florida. And that's basically where they are right now. They just cordial with one another. So many people believe, like what that first Yankee said, they were extra close. And by them being by, a lot of people will believe it. As Jeter's now with Jennifer Lopez, he's engaged, and she's very much in charge of his affairs. And the guy said, "Man, I don't hear from him no more now that he's with J Lo. I don't really hear from him as much." So that is that. So anyway, I'm glad you listening. If you like what you heard, there's more sports beef in these little boxes above. Click them. And thanks for listening. I'm out.